right, so I'll get to the live read in a minute because already calling us the one and only Dave Lagreca from Busted Open. Dave, how are you, sir?
What's up, man? How are you?
How are you? Round of applause for Dave Lagreca, Sirius XM's Busted Open host. Come on, people. The one and only Dave Lagreca. How are you, sir? What's going on in your world?
Busy. I mean, working.
Always working,
brother.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to say one thing. You're that show. I honestly think you guys have kicked over the rock that wrestling fans have lived under for far too long, and you guys put a spotlight on them, and you give the wrestling fan an actual voice. So thank you for that, sir, because I've been a wrestling fan my whole life, and I was a wrestling fan when it wasn't cool, Dave.
No, I don't even know if it's cool now, but
it's still cool. Come on.
But thank you, man. I mean, the whole thing when I started Busted Open, and I'm very thankful for the platform that Sirius XM gave me, and I'm very thankful to all the hosts that work on the show. But I'm always the voice of the fans. So first and foremost, I'm always a fan. So I always try to talk and give the perspective of us as wrestling fans. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring up a couple of things. One, you spoke out. The most famous thing I think you guys done in a while is you became kind of an integral part of WrestleMania 40 that was out of Philly. You became the focal point of the final boss, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. As he noted you while wearing a pink robe, you were the kind of poster boy for the Cody Crybabies during that whole fiasco with they had to change the main event around and everything else. You were kind of an integral role in that. What was that like to have the biggest superstar in the world, Mr. Hollywood himself, pretty much without saying your name, but called you out, put you in a video on Instagram, and called your ass out, you and your little pink robe, Dib?
Well, I mean, the first and foremost, the pink robe is my wife's. It's not even mine. It's my wife's robe.
Yeah.
And it's still and right now the robe is in the International Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, so I don't even own the robe anymore. And I still have to buy my wife a replacement robe, which I have not done yet. But I wore that robe because that was right after Cody was taken from the main event. Rock put himself in the main event. The next day on the show was disheveled. I didn't shower. My hair was a mess. And I was wearing my wife's robe. So I was as downtrodden as anybody could possibly be. And I had no idea that The Rock was going to use that video. We finished the show. I'll never forget. It was a Friday. And like 2 minutes after our show had ended, people started texting me and messaging me that The Rock had, I thought, mentioned me. But then when I saw the video, it was like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I wish he would have done it before noon because he posted it like right after we went off the air. And then I had to wait, until Monday to be able to talk about it on Busted Open. But yeah, that was pretty surreal to have The Rock call me out. But you know what? He didn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He didn't deserve to be in the main event in the first place.
No, he didn't. I agree.
I had no problem doing it.
And that's why I love Dave Lagreca on Busted Open, because you are the mouthpiece to the fans. You speak for the fans. You open your mouth for the fans. You give them a chance to actually speak through you sometimes. When they call in, they're actually more smart marks because they get more knowledge from your show. So that helps put your show a little bit more on a pedestal in the wrestling world. That's why you get some of the biggest names in the business, are some of which that, by the way, work for Busted Open. I still find it a trip that Tommy Dreamer is a co-worker of mine at Sirius XM. Bully Ray is a co-worker of mine at Sirius XM. Mark Henry, Thunder Rosa, Nick Nemeth, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, is a co-worker of mine at Sirius XM. That is the power of Busted Open. But let me ask you this. Have you ever thought that this... Now, I know the answer to this, but I want you, because I like a nice Dave Lagreca rant. Do you think that Busted Open could be more? And I already know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from you.
I know it can be more.
Exactly.
And here's the thing. Like, Busted Open is more than just a radio show. It's become a brand.
Yes.
So, our podcast is extremely successful. Our YouTube page that we just started up again about 9 or 10 months ago has done some great things as well. And I feel like at Sirius XM, and I'm very thankful to Sirius XM, but it's also time for Sirius XM to wake up and understand what they have right under their noses. And that's a brand that should have its own channel.
I agree.
Pro wrestling, as you just said, when you introduced me, wrestling fans don't live under a rock anymore. It's not a guilty pleasure anymore. It's mainstream. It's pop. It's part of pop culture. And, Busted Open is its own brand, and it should be on 24/7. You mentioned all the hosts we have. We have Bully Ray. We have Tommy Dreamer. We have Thunder Rosa. We have Mark Henry. We have Nick Nemeth. We're on 7 days a week. It's time for us to expand. Not only could we talk about what's going on currently, we could do a throwback show. We could talk about, we could do watch-alongs. We can do a show highlighting independent wrestling. We could highlight international wrestling. Like,
Dave, number one, you're preaching to the choir. Two, I already said this off air, and I'll say it to your face because this was something that I was pitching, and even Joe, we have an 80-year-old man in this studio that probably, right. I don't even know if he knows if he's wearing pants or not.
I try.
However, not a big wrestling fan. However, he was talking about that he actually, when I told him the idea, he goes, that's actually a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
My thing is definitely Busted Open 24/7. So you have your show, you have the replay of your show, the whole 9 yards. Make everybody aware, have the channel, because I was saying, I couldn't tell you who else is on Fight Nation. And I'm not dissing anybody else on Fight Nation. I know Busted Open because Busted Open, like you just said, is a brand. Now, speaking of other brands, I honestly think that the main wrestling organizations, WWE, AEW, MLW, TNA, and the New Japan even, it doesn't matter, they could buy an hour, every day they have an hour, right? And literally they're there to sell their pay-per-view. So if they're worried about filling up time, there is so much stuff for wrestling fans to have, and each major wrestling promotion could have their own show on Busted Open 24/7 on Sirius XM, and therefore you could be the epicenter of pro wrestling. When somebody's in their car and can't get to the venue fast enough, you guys are live at the venue. This thing goes on. This guy's talking about the card for tonight. They're on their way to the pay-per-view. The WWE channel, the WWE show, whatever the hell it's called, is talking about, tonight on the card we got that, and they're live from the arena. Whatever it is, that right there could be money. And that's what I think that everyone's not paying attention to, because you guys could be the epicenter of pro wrestling. That's the thing. You're already your damn robe is in the freaking museum now. What the hell?
Well, I listen. Filling programming wouldn't be a problem.
No,
like we have hosts on that are on once a week. They would love to be on more.
Absolutely.
We could bring more talent in. Like you said, we could spotlight certain pay-per-views, certain shows. Like. Filling programming would not be a problem, and I really feel like now, like you're in your car going to work, you can listen to Busted Open. When you're in the car driving home, you can listen to Busted Open, but different perspectives. It doesn't have to just be my perspective. We have other talent that would love to talk. So filling programming on a Busted Open 24/7 channel would not be an issue or a problem at all, and I think it would be a big moneymaker for Sirius XM. Sponsorship, like you said, affiliations with companies, I think it would be a gold mine.
And also, by the way, for all the Sirius suits that are listening to this show, because I know you check up on my show because I'm trying to get on the air at Sirius XM. So if you're paying attention, Dave and me both agree with the fact, and you will have lucrative sponsorships, because think about it. Where the WWE wrestlers go and where their product goes, boom, you got all their sponsors that are clamoring just to be heard even more. They would come over. Progressive, Coors Light, whatever it is, boom, boom, boom. They're on there. TNA, the little show that could, the one that's kind of taking over the wrestling world right now, where I want to hopefully hang my hat one day and work behind the scenes at. That company, who we have a major connection with on this show, literally could get more airtime, hawk their pay-per-views, do everything if it's 24/7, everything comes there. It becomes ground zero, for lack of a better term, for wrestling. It literally becomes the epicenter. That's my point. I do have to ask you, Dave, though, speaking of something that was the epicenter, you guys are the epicenter. Something else that was the epicenter, because back in the day there was only one name that was synonymous with professional wrestling, and it's McMahon. McMahon, Vince McMahon, all up in the news, out of his own company. He's gone. The Netflix documentary that we all watched, every little wrestling fan sat there and we all watched it. What did you think of it?
I mean, I thought I didn't really learn anything from the show. Pretty much everything that I'd seen, I already knew about. I thought it was done well. I think when it comes to Vince McMahon, I think it showed that, he's not a good guy. If you want to say great businessman, that's fine. I think he showed, like, morally how many holes there are. I think it was a sad documentary in the fact that in the beginning of the documentary, he talked about how much he wanted to prove to his father and wanted to get his father's approval and the love from his dad and that pat on the back. And then fast forward to the last episode of the docuseries, where it's like Shane McMahon is basically saying the same thing that Vince had said, that he's fighting and looking for that approval and that love. I think in a lot of ways it was the rise and fall of a juggernaut. And, for years and years, you would hear me, you, fans, experts say that you would have to pry this company from his dead hands. Never thought there'd be a day that he would step down, but I think it shows that, you do bad things, at some point it's going to bite you in the ass. And I think it definitely did for him.
And also, by the way, this was breaking news before I left my house. More bad news. John Laurinaitis divorcing they used to be called the Bellas. Now they're the Garcias. Their mom, because of the sex scandal and everything else that went on and the lawsuits and everything else, right after the Netflix documentary, because his name was synonymous with Vince McMahon. It was connected to this incident. That, let's just say, the one incident.
He's always had a reputation.
Yeah, no, he always had a reputation. I'm not saying that, but this is, I mean, I didn't learn like Dave just said. Like Dave, right. By the way, talking to Dave Lagreca, Busted Open, Sirius XM, soon to be Busted Open 24/7, their own channel, because I'm going to put it out there in the ether. It needs to be frickin' said. But the fact is, this guy here is absolutely right. Dave is absolutely right. We didn't learn shit. We all knew Vince was a bad guy. We didn't learn anything. However, I think that's the thing. I think to the novices, Bill, the people who had no clue that Vince was up to any shenanigans or whatever, you learned something. So I think it was somewhat, I do. I think it's a sad thing. I think you're absolutely correct. I left that documentary just going like, ugh. That's what I mean, after watching it, after hearing some of the new stuff, some of the new allegations, not the old ones because I heard those, but the ugh factor was raised to about 11 on that documentary. But speaking of the McMahon name, Dave, do you honestly think that Shane's going to show up in AEW?
I think I don't know. I do not have any insider knowledge to this at all, but I think he can and he should. I would like that. And the fact that I think Shane McMahon, I think the fans love Shane McMahon.
Absolutely.
I think that he's a good dude. I mean, as far as I know, I think he has a love and passion for the business, and he's not getting the opportunity with the WWE. Why not take it with AEW? And I think that Tony Khan probably needs a right-hand man that he can lean on and that could show him the way and kind of hold his hand through the rough waters that are happening with this organization, the ups and downs, because every company goes through it. I think if you needed a consigliere, I can't think of anybody better than Shane McMahon.
And that's the thing. People don't actually register that AEW, All Elite Wrestling, which, by the way, is on in a little bit here, and it's on Wednesday nights, legitimately is a baby. In the era of what a company is, it's a baby. It's an infant. It's going to have all these kind of kinks to work out and all the other BS that it has to go through. And now if you bring in Shane, if Shane literally is helping out, like you just called him, the Cacique for Tony Khan, which, by the way, thanks to your show, I got to hang out with Tony Khan last week. Thank you. So, by the way, Busted Open, shameless plug. They had Tony Khan on. By the way, just hanging out with a billionaire. You know what I mean? Nothing new. Just a Tuesday. But if Shane does come in now, if Shane comes in, does that mean Vince is not far behind, or do you think Shane does it on his own?
No, I think Shane does it on his own.
Okay.
I don't think Vince. Listen, at this point, even if there wasn't all these allegations and everything that's going on with Vince McMahon, I think you would agree. Creatively, I think he hit a wall. And
of course, yeah.
I think the WWE product before Triple H took over creative was in a bad way. And, there were storylines that would go nowhere. There was characters that would go nowhere. There was wrestlers that weren't given an opportunity. And all that is happening under Triple H. So, I mean, I wouldn't, even if none of these things were going on, you can't ignore it because these things are going on.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they weren't, I don't think I would want Vince McMahon anywhere near anything that's creative towards pro wrestling at this point. I just think it's time to move on, and I think it's time for him to step aside, and I think it's time for a new generation to take over.
I think the only one that thought he was doing a good job was Vince. I don't think anyone thought it. I don't think Triple H thought it. I don't think Stephanie sure as hell didn't think it. I don't think Shane did. I don't think anybody behind the scenes thought Vince McMahon was... To me personally, he was out of touch. He didn't know... He didn't give the proper rubs and the proper pushes to the proper people. It was what's the scientific term? A clusterfuck. Every time you went to go watch it, you sat there and you went, well, I don't know where this is going. And now... under the Triple H regime, a lot of stuff is now cleared up. I like the cross-promotion with TNA and NXT. That's great. That would have never happened under Vince. There's a laundry list of things that would have never have happened. The fact that they even interact with the audience now and sign autographs on their way to the ring would never have happened under the Vince regime. But speaking of AEW, I have to ask you this question because all the signs are pointing tonight that Bobby Lashley's showing up on AEW. Everything from the setup on, everything tonight, we got Shelton Benjamin taking on Lio Rush. Now, Lio Rush connected to Bobby Lashley, formerly in the WWE. He's a former WWE champion. It's gonna happen. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. You got MVP over there, you got Shelton Benjamin. They're trying to rebuild the Hurt business, now going to be called the Hurt Syndicate is the new name for it. Now, do you think I'm right that tonight Bobby Lashley shows up, All Elite Wrestling, tonight on TBS and lays waste to Lio Rush to kind of prove a point to say, like, you guys let one slip through the cracks? Because that's a big boy, and he was a tremendous gift. I mean, he really was he was a good worker. Now, back in Vince's day, that didn't mean shit. But in the Triple H era, a good worker actually means something again. What do you think, Dave? Do you think is it going to happen? Am I right? Just say I'm right. But am I right?
I mean, I think it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think most likely it may happen tonight. I wouldn't do it tonight. I would wait. I would establish Shelton Benjamin first, and then have a feud with Lio Rush, and then have Lashley debut. I don't think you need to rush this. Take your time with it. Tell a story and have him come at the right time. But unfortunately, that's not AEW's way. No. They tend to rush through things very quickly. So based on the track record of AEW rushing, I think most likely you're right. Lashley will debut tonight. But if I had the pencil, as Bully likes to say, yep, I would wait on it. I would wait, and I would build a story with Shelton and Lio Rush before I would debut Bobby Lashley. And I think that's one of the things that AEW needs to do. They need to slow it down a little bit. They're rushing through so many storylines and so many matches that they don't need to do that. They need to slow down a little bit more, and I hope that they do that. But from what you just said, I think most likely you will see Bobby Lashley tonight.
Yeah, I mean, all the signs, Billy, are pointing that way.
Yes. So you think with the addition, if they do bring in McMahon, that would help them get to what you would like to see, where they slow it down, they tell the story, let it develop. You think Shane could give them that guidance?
I think so. I think that's what you need. I think there needs to be somebody that says to Tony Khan, you know what? Love where you're going, love the passion, but you're wrong here. This is the way we should do it. And I think you need that. I think you need everybody. I need that. You need that.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs that person. Yeah, that gets in your ear and says, hey, maybe there's another way to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you have to learn from those who have come before you. You have to, whether it's the radio business or wrestling, you have to learn from who came before you and learn what actually worked. And the one thing that Vince McMahon, I believe, has taught Shane McMahon is proper timing, as in wait that half a beat when you come out. That's what I mean. Triple H is a sponge. He learned from some of the greats in this business to be doing what he's doing now and literally running the show. I mean, it didn't hurt that he banged the boss's daughter, but he legitimately is running the damn show. He learned what Vince was doing wrong and what Vince was doing right, and he kind of cultivated it into his own style. I believe Shane McMahon will do the exact same thing. I believe also that Shane McMahon is part of this whole thing with Moxley and the former cast-offs of the WWE. Every single person in that group is a former WWE superstar, except for Yuta. He's the only one that's not, but you got to shove in somebody when you can shove them in.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think based on what you're saying, and I believe it, I think that's the only way they can go, because if it doesn't go that way, I think fans are going to be disappointed. Tony Khan taking the picture with Shane and that going viral. The Young Bucks taking a picture with Shane McMahon and that going viral. So now you've planted the seed in fans' heads that this may be happening. If it doesn't happen, I think there's going to be fans that are disappointed.
Well, that's the thing. There's got to be a payoff, and it's got to be the payoff that about 90% of us think it's going to be. It has to be. You have to.
Or something bigger, or something bigger and better than that. Because if it's anything less than that, then it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, and let me tell you right now, did you hear the spark, Billy? Did you hear it in Dave's voice? He's a fan at heart. Yeah. He went, "Oh no, it's got to be bigger." That's the reason why, Dave, we love you. That's why Busted Open is freaking got to go 24/7, because right there, you yet again speaking for the fans. That's the thing that a lot of other shows that are out there, because there are other wrestling shows, I don't listen to them, but there's a lot of other wrestling shows, and they kind of are marks for certain brands. This guy's doing this wrong, let's talk about this, and then when you bring in the workhorses that actually know this business back and forth, because that's, by the way, me and Billy, by the way, on my show, used to be a pro wrestler. He worked the indies, held the world title for how many, one time?
One time was
a world champion. He took the bumps, did everything, had the hot dog and the handshake, did all that good stuff. But the fact of the matter, you didn't get a hot dog, you got the handshake. But the fact of the matter is, this is what I'm saying, even he has the know-how. He knows the business. We fell in love with the business of pro wrestling. And that's why I think it's insightful to have Bully Ray, Thunder Rosa, Mickey James when she was on there, Nick Nemeth, Mark Henry. These are all, Tommy Dreamer, these are all people that legitimately know what is actually going to happen. And when you actually get them surprised by something, that shakes the whole foundation of everything. And that's why Bully Ray, when he talks about being the pencil, I don't always agree with Bully. But some of the stuff I sit there and when I listen to him, when he explains it, and he goes this is why you do that, as opposed to this, you go like the internet wrestling community just yells, no, they should just do that. This is what they should do. You're a fucking moron. Tony Khan smokes and does crack, and he doesn't know what he's doing. But the thing is, if you actually listen to the people that came before you and the ones that actually tell you why you do something, then you'll be fine. And that's why I listen to Dave, because he knows
Psychology.
too. Yeah, he knows that he didn't just set this up on a lark. Busted Open has actual people that have done this stuff. And Dave is the fan. He's now the guy in between. It's a fan trying to corral all these entities to do this stuff. And you did, and you're doing exceptionally well. Dave, thank you for being on the show, bro, first off.
Yeah, I got one plug if I could.
You can have two plugs. Go ahead. Go nuts.
All right, thanks. Listen to Busted Open Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, 9 to noon Eastern time on Sirius XM Fight Nation. Hopefully soon, Busted Open 24/7. Use the hashtag Busted Open 24/7.
Absolutely.
We're on YouTube, so subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, our podcast. We got the Master Class that you only get on the Busted Open podcast, so make sure you subscribe to the Busted Open podcast. And then myself and Bully Ray will be doing a show November 26th. That's the Tuesday night before Thanksgiving at the Gramercy Theater in New York City. Tickets go on sale tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., so use the promo code Busted Open for early access. And Bully Ray and I will be doing a big show at the Gramercy Theater in New York City November 26th, the Tuesday night before Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Dave, first off, now I want to go to the Gramercy. I want to definitely hit up that show because that's going to be freaking awesome. The two of them, plus there's going to be some special guests that show up to that, so it's going to be really cool.
Oh, yeah. There will be some special guests that will be appearing that night for sure.
Absolutely. And not just special, like I'm talking about these are special guests because it's right near Survivor Series, it's right near Thanksgiving. I mean, it's going to be some good stuff. In New York City, first off, the heartbeat of America, you're not going to find anything else. Dave, thank you for doing our show. It's an honor to have you on, sir. Thank you very much for being on our program. If you want me to come on Busted Open... It was a long time
coming. I appreciate it.
If you want me to come on Busted Open, I'll do it. Don't twist my arm. I'll come on, and we'll talk wrestling, and it'll be phenomenal. Thank you.
I want to say...
Thank you.
Wait, hold on.
Right,
Billy,
thanks so much, man.
Well, wait, hold on. Right before you go, Billy wants to kiss your butt. Go ahead, Billy.
All right, I want to say congratulations, continued success, because I remember when you guys first started your show, you would get bumped for, like, soccer games and all kinds of silly little things.
And now you are the toast of the town. Now you're the big cheese. So congratulations on all that, buddy.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for listening, and thank you for giving me the time. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime, sir. Anytime. Round of applause. The one and only Dave Lagreca. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.